So Chelsea have gone and signed Liam Delap, who for £30 million looks like some really good business, a really good young player, good finisher. Chelsea have now gone and signed Jeremy Gittens from Borussia Dortmund, one of the most promising players in football. And if you go off the first 6 months, or the first half, sorry, of last season, he was unbelievable. But they're also working on a deal for Joao Pedro. And after Joao Pedro, we know they want another winger coming in because they didn't sign Sancho. Estevao is also coming in as basically a new player. And I have to say, I think Chelsea's attacking plan is a lot better than it's getting credit for. Now, before I get into the video and I talk about the Chelsea transfer news and their attacking plan and why it's so good, you might be saying, why are you wearing sunglasses? You're indoors. And that is because I threw a party last night to celebrate hitting 100,000 subscribers on both channels. And I've got a big headache this morning, so that's why the sunglasses are on. But let's talk over Chelsea's transfer plans and what they will be doing. So, we've spoken about Delap, we've done videos on Delap, so we won't talk about him in too much detail. We're going to talk mostly about Gittens and a little bit about Joao Pedro at the end of today's video and why I think it will be really good business for Chelsea Football Club. So with the likes of Gittens, we obviously know what a good dribbler is. Like Gittens is one of the best dribblers in football. When he's got the ball, when he's on it, he's absolutely excellent. Gittens was phenomenal the first half of last season, has struggled since a new managerial change has come in, but Gittens is an unbelievably good player. He's in the 99th percentile for successful dribbles, 97th percentile for offensive actions, 97th percentile for progressive carries, 87th percentile for non-penalty goals, and 85th percentile for key passes out of the under-21 wingers. When it comes to ball carrying, chance creation, dribbling, he is very, very good. And we saw that particularly the first half of last season. So I want to talk about Chelsea's attacking plan. I want to talk about why I think it's underrated and why I think Chelsea are doing some good business. I also want to apologise if I do have any connection issues. It's not even my Wi-Fi, it's the software I'm using to record on. It keeps losing connectivity at the moment. I'm not sure why. But Chelsea's second plan for next season, I think, is very good. I think Nicholas Jackson could be on the way out. I think Joao Pedro would allow you to sell Nicholas Jackson because Nicholas Jackson is quite good when it comes to dropping deep, linking play, but he's not very good in the box, Nicholas Jackson. He's good at everything outside the box compared to most of the strikers. He's very good at it. You know, Delap's a very good finisher. He's very good at things inside the box. He's very good at coming to the left. But Nicholas Jackson is very good at things outside the box. But when it comes to the box and finishing, he's a liability. Now, Joao Pedro is someone that often plays behind a striker because of how good he is outside the box, linking play. Signing Joao Pedro would allow Chelsea to move on from Nicholas Jackson, which I think Chelsea are open to doing. Joao Pedro can play striker, can play as a number 10, potentially Palmer going out wide. That would also work. I think he would come in as a striker. Gittens left wing, Madueke right wing, Neto's versatile, but I think Neto's a lot better on the right. And Estevao can play right wing and 10. There's reports that he wants to play as a 10 next season. I'm not sure. I think he'd be better on the right. But these players, although he's not like a touchline winger like Gittens is, so maybe he'd do better centrally. But this group of players gives Chelsea a mixture of flair, 1v1 dribbling, technical brilliance, players that are good sharp finishers. A lot of these players are good finishers. Joao Pedro's a good finisher. Delap's a good finisher. Gittens, believe it or not, he is a good finisher. Palmer, good finisher. A lot of these players that Chelsea are bringing in are good finishers. There's players who've got that pace, that flair, that suit Maresca's system. Out wide against the touchline, Gittens suits that. Some of them are, sharp finishers, players with a lot of good technical ability, like Joao Pedro, who likes to combine play. You've got Palmer, Joao Pedro. They're very creative, very intelligent. You've got Neto and Gittens that are going to stretch and break the lines, and they're direct wingers. You've got Delap that's a strong finisher, and all of these players are young. All of these players are going to improve. But all of these players have some really good balance between them. They've got a really good mix of strengths, weaknesses that combine well with each other. And it's a really, really balanced team. I actually think what Chelsea are building in attack is very, very underrated. You talk about Maresca, how from his wingers, he obviously wants touchline width. Maresca likes wingers that can hold the width, stay on the touchline, go 1v1, take on their player, and put a ball into the box, which is exactly what Gittens can do, exactly what Neto can do. But that works really well with someone like Joao Pedro, who likes to drop deep and feed runners. Like Estevao, like Palmer. Joao Pedro, Estevao, and Palmer are both technical players that like to drop deep, like to pick up the ball in central areas, and will feed runners. And in Gittens and Neto, you've got the runners. The one thing about not signing Sancho is Sancho 100% wasn't actually best suited for Maresca's system. I wanted you to sign Sancho as a Manchester United fan. I wanted him gone. But he didn't 100% suit Maresca's system in itself. So Sancho going isn't the end of the world because Gittens, while I think Gittens hasn't been great for the last few months for Dortmund, when Gittens was playing a similar role to how Maresca was going to play him, Gittens was great for Dortmund. A new manager came in and played Gittens, but essentially he hasn't been great. They've not used Gittens right. But if you use Gittens how Maresca wants to use Gittens, he showed that he was very good. Whereas Sancho would probably work better in a system that is more central. Gittens works better being a touchline winger. And I think the mix of Palmer, Neto, the creativity, Madueke can give some directness as well if he stays. I think it works well. Now I look at this and I think Chelsea need an experienced right winger or just another experienced kind of player to come in. And apparently Chelsea are also looking to bring in one more attacker. Gittens, Delap, Joao, Pedro, but they might be looking to bring in one more attacker with a little bit of experience to potentially go on the wing. I think that would help balance it. I think that's what it's missing is a ready-made proven winger, because as good as Gittens is, he's not ready-made, he's not proven. And I do think that Chelsea, I know they love their young players, should go for someone ready-made and proven. Now, one of the names they've been linked to is Garnacho. Again, he's not ready-made yet. I think he's Prem proven, but the problem with Garnacho is attitude. Will Chelsea still go in for Garnacho? Gittens is 55 million. Garnacho is expected to cost around the same. Will Chelsea go in for Garnacho, or did they choose Gittens instead? Now, I did a little bit of a Gittens versus Garnacho graph here to talk about it because I think they're two quite similar players. Now, I think Gittens is naturally more talented and naturally technically better and naturally better on the ball. If we're talking about natural ability. But I do think right now, if you had to say right now who's better, Garnacho or Gittens, Garnacho had the better season despite Man United finishing 15th. If we're going individually, Garnacho had the third highest goals and assist output of any player aged under 21. Only Doué and Yamal had more than him. He was doing it in an unstable team, unstable environment. You look at how Scott McTominay's left Man United and how good he's been, how Elanga's left Man United, how good they've been. Rashford was doing well at Villa before his injury. Anthony at Betis. You look at all these players that are all right at Man United and they leave Man United and they look fantastic. So we know right now Garnacho is probably a little bit better than Gittens right now. But I do think Gittens, if you go to ceiling and potential, arguably has a higher potential than Garnacho. I think Gittens could be the better player between him and Garnacho in the future. I think Garnacho is a little bit better now. He's more proven in a harder team, in a harder league. Garnacho is very direct and willing to take risks. He's done it in the Prem. I think he's physically better than Gittens, but not a lot in it. And he's probably more ready now. But with Gittens, you've got someone with a much better attitude than Garnacho. Garnacho's got good work rate, but his attitude, ego, thinking he's better than the manager, that's a big problem that Garnacho has had at Manchester United with his comments. And Maresca, we know, won't stand for that at all. Also with Gittens, I think he could be cheaper. I think Garnacho will go for a similar price because there was talk of Gittens being 45 million. But I think he potentially would be maybe cheaper because Man United selling to Chelsea, maybe they want 60 million. You may pay 60 million for Mount. If you look at the first half of the season, like before January, Gittens was looking a lot better than Garnacho, but since January, Garnacho's looked a lot better than Gittens. One thing I will give Garnacho is both Garnacho and Gittens play much better when they're on the touchline, playing more wide. Amorim came in, new Dortmund manager came in, and both of them moved centrally. Now, Garnacho was quite poor the first 2 months under Amorim, but Garnacho, the last couple of games under Amorim, started to look really good again, and I think that's why he was frustrated. He was dropped for the cup final. And Garnacho did start to suit that role, playing more centrally. He managed to adapt and suit that role, whereas Gittens, I guess, hasn't shown that adaptability. I think Gittens, if we're talking about natural ability, dribbling, will probably be the better player than Garnacho in the future. So, Chelsea, I think, have gone with Gittens over Garnacho, but they're still talking them potentially going in for Garnacho. Now, I think signing Gittens is smart. It's the Sancho replacement. I actually think when you take into account his wages compared to the wages that Sancho would have wanted over the 5 years, the overall package of Gittens, despite being 55 million, probably isn't going to be a whole lot more than actually the whole Sancho package. If you look into account what Sancho wanted you guys to pay him, I think like over 200 grand a week. Chelsea will have some funds left over. I think it was a bit more pricey. I think that Chelsea could have gotten for cheaper, but it's Dortmund. It's how Dortmund work. But Chelsea will have funds left over to maybe sign someone else. They've linked to Kudus, Ekitike. They also have links to Rodrigo and Garnacho. I think Chelsea can use those funds to look elsewhere for maybe a more proven, experienced winger, because as good as Gittens is, he's not completely proven. But Gittens and Delap costing under 85 million is pretty good business. I put 75 million in there, but I meant to put 85 million in there. I think for the most part, it's pretty good business, which might not sound like good business, but we're talking about, the price tag of players right now. We're talking about the market, 50 million bids being rejected for Elanga, 65 million bids being rejected for Mbumo. To get two players that are young with the ceiling of Gittens and the ceiling of Delap and the potential they might have for under 85 million, it isn't bad business. It isn't bad business. Considering Gittens is only 20, he's done very well. He's got 12 goals and 5 assists in the Bundesliga, mostly from left wing, and 11 of his goals came from not in Bundesliga, in all comps. He got 12 goals and 5 assists in all comps last season, but 11 of those goals came from the first half of the season when he was playing out wide. In the first half of the season at age 20, he got 11 goals. He got ridiculously good numbers when he was playing out wide as a touchline winger under Dortmund's first coach. Maresca's going to use Gittens the same way that Dortmund's first coach used Gittens, where he got 11 goals in the first few months of the season when he was on track for a 20-plus goal season as a 20-year-old. And that's how Maresca's going to use him. And as I said, he's the 99% of the successful dribbles for the Bundesliga wingers. He's elite in progressive carries, key passing. He's very good 1v1. He's very good at dribbling. A very, very good player. And if you look at Maresca, he wants Gittens to hold the width. That's where Gittens thrives when it comes to ball progression, dribbles, crosses into the box. That's where Gittens thrives. That's where Maresca wants to play Gittens. He's also a good transition threat. It will allow Chelsea to be a better threat in transition as well. But let's talk about some other bits and pieces in regards to Chelsea, because another player Chelsea are reportedly looking at is Joao Pedro. Now, Gittens is direct, raw potential. Joao Pedro is a bit more proven, a bit more older, a bit more ready-made, but he's a modern player. Now, I think that Joao Pedro will play as a striker and rotate with Delap, and I think Nicholas Jackson could be moved on. But Joao Pedro is very versatile. He's capable of playing striker, second forward, advanced 10. Could play him out wide, probably not suiting Maresca's system out wide, but he's so technically good. He's so good at linking up play. And when De Zerbi was at Brighton, when they played a bit of a box midfield setup, he was so good in that, which makes me think there might be times where Chelsea potentially play Joao Pedro as a 10 and we see Cole Palmer go on to the right, potentially. I think he will be a striker that drops deep, but he's very good at finding pockets, creating overloads, breaking lines. That's what he's so good at. And while Delap offers power, he offers pressing, he offers runs in behind, Delap is more direct, Delap is a better finisher, Delap offers that. Joao Pedro offers more creativity, more technique, more technical ability. He offers a bit more creativity in that sense. And I think it's very good to have Joao Pedro and Delap as striker options, because one is more direct and one is more drop deep technical. And if you're struggling to potentially break teams down, I think Joao Pedro could work. If you're finding space, Delap could exploit that space even better. I think Pedro's ability to drop in midfield, connect play, link with Palmer and Gittens could work really well if Palmer played out wide, if he was playing deeper, or I think he would work well with the likes of Neto. I think he's a very good player. And I think of him as Jackson, but with better finishing. And I think if you mix that he's got better finishing, but he's a good facilitator and would link the front three well, I do think that Joao Pedro would be a very good signing. You look at Joao Pedro, how he uses his body to manipulate defenders, how he's really good on the ball, how he's very good in the final third, under pressure. He's very good at picking the right option. I think his decision-making is good under pressure, playing those passes. He understands, the pressing triggers. He understands when to pass, when to shoot, when to dribble. He's got a good understanding of the game. He wins the ball. He works hard. Got decent goal contribution numbers as well. I think Joao Pedro would be a good signing along with Gittens for Chelsea. I do think that Chelsea would need another experienced right winger, but I think Chelsea's transfer plan is better than people think. I think the business they're doing is better than people think. I think there's better players out there than Gittens, but I think when you're going off potential, Gittens is great. You look at Estevao coming in. Delap for 30 million is great business. Of course, there's better players out there, but when you look at the business and you look at the plan and you look at the balance, I think it's very good. Thank you for watching. Bye.